All right. Okie dokie, artichoke. Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Every Which Way podcast. Welcome back to all of those who have been listening. And a nice hello to anyone who this is your first time tuning in to our 70th episode. Yeah, 70 episode of the regular podcast. In actuality, if we count the Sabbath Spooks, it's probably more than that. It's definitely more than that. But of the episode of the proper episodes, it's number 70. So yeah, how is everyone doing today? I'm not too bad. It's Friday for me, and that's wonderful. I don't have to work this weekend. Thank the goddess for that because I'm so tired of that. But yeah, I'm good. It's been pretty nice out. March is well, by the time you're listening to this, March is here. So yeah, the weather is starting to get a little warmer. Days are getting longer, and I'm ready for it. I was able to sit outside, well, lay outside on the ground. I laid out a beach towel and I had a selenite wand up above my crown, and I had my smoky quartz down by my root chakra. And I just laid there for a couple of minutes and just enjoyed touching grass and being outside. It was a little chilly, but that's okay. I don't mind it. So yeah, I hope that you guys had a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. I do apologize for there being no episode last week, but like I said in episode 69, because of my work schedule, it just could not happen. But that's okay because we're here now. So let us enjoy our time in the now. What are you guys drinking? I have a nice big cup of water that I'm partaking in, and I have a nice little candle going with me. So, what am I talking about today? Well, this is probably going to be a little weird. So, initially, I was going to talk about intention this week. And I was starting to make a list in my head one day of how I was going to go about it and all that stuff. And while I was in my pantry grabbing something, I look over and I have this bottle, this half full bottle of distilled white vinegar. And I'm like, I wonder if I could use that for anything. So today I'm talking about distilled white vinegar, which I'm going to just refer to as white vinegar, and the regular white vinegar. Okay, so you know what? We'll get into it when we get into it, okay? Uh, excuse me, but let's talk about vinegar as a whole before we dive deep into the white vinegar. So the word vinegar itself is actually a combination of vin, which is French for wine, and aigre, which is French for sour. So it translates to sour wine, basically. Now, those words themselves come from the Latin words for for wine, which is vinum, and for sour, which is acker. And in some places in the world, the word acyl was used for vinegar instead. Now, vinegar contains flavonoids, which is the chemical that causes bright, vibrant colors in plants and fruits and are broken down by our bodies to use their antioxidant and anti inflammatory properties. It also contains phenolic acid, which helps to give plants their aromatic scent and seem to help with ingestion of vegetables and fruits, as well as damage from oxidative diseases. And vinegar also contains aldehyde, of which formaldehyde comes from, which has many subdivisions and often contributes to the flavoring of vegetables, fruits, all that good jazz. Now, the amount of these three chemicals in vinegar depends on what material or materials is used to make it. Traditionally, vinegar is low in calories and nutrients. Uh, Most vinegars are also sugar and sodium free, unless they're blended with some sort of fruit juice or wine that contribute to the sugar, sodium, and other nutrients, stuff like that. So, vinegar, in case you don't know, is a sour liquid that's made via a two-step fermentation process that includes acetic acid and water. It can be produced from numerous materials such as apples, grapes, malted oats and barley, rice, potatoes, and industrial alcohol. It can be made out of almost any liquid that can be converted into alcohol. So the material is fed with yeast that will consume the sugars in that material. And the liquid will then ferment into alcohol. The alcohol is exposed to oxygen with a container that is usually covered in a cheesecloth or a towel, some sort of breathable fabric, which will allow for acetic acid bacteria, which is called acetobacter, to ferment during weeks or months, which eventually turns into vinegar. Alternatively, to speed up the process, one could use alcohol instead of the alcoholic fermentation process. Beer, I've seen repeatedly in a couple of sources, does not make good vinegar, but wine, cider, and mead are popular materials to make it out of. Now, vinegar itself has been around for, at the very minimum, 10,000 years. So this is a very old liquid, old food, old condiment. And there have been records and even some old jars or containers that used to hold it, dating back to ancient Egypt and ancient Babylon. Around 5000 BCE, vinegar was used as both a preservative and a condiment, and is mentioned in Babylonian scrolls. Research does indicate that it was the Babylonians who began using herbs and spices to add flavor to vinegar. Elite soldiers of Rome drank it as a beverage, which was called posca, and was a mixture of water and vinegar. Hippocrates spoke highly of vinegar's medicinal properties, and scholars believe that vinegar was one of the earliest remedies. In numerous cultures, vinegar was used as a digestive aid, a cough treatment, and an antibacterial balm for wounds. Traces of vinegar have been discovered in urns from Egypt dating back to approximately 3000 BCE. Apparently, and this is something that I thought that was really cool, Cleopatra, yes, that Cleopatra, used vinegar as a solvent to dissolve a pearl in vinegar in order to win a bet that she could consume a fortune in one single meal. Which, big if true, and pretty darn badass, in my humble opinion. In ancient Greece, a common drink called oxycrot was popular, which was created by mixing together honey, vinegar, and water. This drink even had its own special container that it was kept in called oxides, and ancient Greeks also used vinegar to pickle meats and vegetables. at Roman banquets. Bowls of vinegar called acetabulum were a staple on the tables and were used to soak pieces of bread in, which, as someone who does like vinegar, that does sound pretty yummy indeed. The Carthaginian general Hannibal is said to have heated boulders and doused them in vinegar to cause them to crumble and crack during his expedition through the Alps. During the Zhou dynasty in China, which lasted around 1046 to 256 BCE, there was a special position in royal households called vinegar maker, who, as the title suggests, specialized in producing vinegar, which was used for medicinal and culinary purposes. Large-scale production of vinegar in China began around 479 BCE. It's said in the Bible that vinegar was offered to Christ at the crucifixion by Roman soldiers. So this vinegar does have a long history, at least in our time. Household making of vinegar began to phase out and was a large commercial industry by around 2000 BCE. The making of vinegar became quite popular in Europe between the 5th to 15th centuries. Orleans in France actually even became renowned for the quality of vinegar that it produced, with the fermentation process being referred to as the Orleans process. Balsamic vinegar came into being in the Duchy of Modena in Italy. Vinegar making was a profitable business in France come the Renaissance period, with around 150 different flavored vinegars being produced. It also started to be produced in England, with malt vinegar being developed and referred to as Allegaar. Dutch technologist Herman Boerhaave discovered that the rate of acid production during the vinegar process was directly tied to the amount of surface that was exposed to the air, and he discovered this in the early 18th century. This led to the continuous aeration being implemented in vinegar making by the 20th century. That just means that it was exposed to more air. Things changed dramatically in the 19th century with the invention of the first large-scale industrial process for vinegar production in the Kingdom of Baden in 1823, which was somewhere in modern-day Germany. This new production process radically reduced the fermentation process from months to 1 to 2 weeks, which is a big improvement. Japan followed suit, industrializing vinegar production at the end of the Tokugawa shogunate, which lasted from 1600 to 1868 CE, helping to provide vinegar for sushi, which, can I just say, as someone who loves sushi, that is truly a beautiful thing. I'm just saying that now. If you don't like sushi, I feel sorry for you, my guy. I do. That's sad. Anyway, getting back to vinegar. French chemist and bacteriologist Louis Pasteur was able to prove that it is acetobacter bacteria that causes the conversion of alcohol to acetic acid in 1864. Vinegar was used to treat scurvy during the American Civil War and was treating wounds in battles and wars as recently as World War I. Another invention called submerged fermentation revolutionized vinegar production in the 20th century, cutting the production time down to 1 to 2 days. So we went from a couple of months to 1 to 2 weeks to 1 to 2 days. Narrowing things down to distilled white vinegar specifically, it first came onto the scene around the 1860s, I saw the 6 and the 8 and I almost flipped them backwards. It is the purest distilled version of vinegar. It's about 5% acetic acid and 95% water, giving this type of vinegar a strong, clean, and crisp taste. That being said, distilled white vinegar lacks that savory or aromatic flavor that other vinegars have. But that apparently makes it ideal for pickling. So, remember when I said at the top of the video that I was talking about specifically distilled white vinegar? Well, there are two types of white vinegar. So do not confuse distilled white vinegar with regular white vinegar, which is also called cleaning vinegar, which typically has a ratio of 6% acetic acid and 94% water. Cleaning vinegar is found with the cleaning supplies in stores and is intended for single use. The distinction between distilled white vinegar and white or cleaning vinegar is the concentration of acetic acid. So from here on out, I'll be calling distilled white vinegar, and the not distilled white vinegar, cleaning vinegar, to make it less confusing for you and also myself. So distilled white vinegar is the most commonly used vinegar, and it has been referred to in the past and even today as spirit vinegar and alcohol vinegar. It is not made via distillation, but is produced via fermentation of distilled grain alcohol. Okay? Which is why it has the distilled in its name. Basically, cheap materials such as potatoes, sugar beets, stuff like that are distilled into almost pure ethanol. This process makes this a cheap-ass vinegar, which in today's economic climate, what a blessing, truly. So, primarily used in cooking, white vinegar's second most common use is in cleaning. As a cleaner, it's useful on sinks, countertops, showers, really pretty much anything, and also works as a disinfectant. When rusty tools or utensils are soaked in it, white vinegar helps to remove that rust and make them practically as good as new, as far as appearances anyway. Soaking clothes in white vinegar prior to washing them helps to remove any stains from the fabric. But, and this is very important, y'all, do not, I repeat, do not mix white vinegar with bleach, okay? This is very important. Do not do it. Don't mix. You have bleach and you have white vinegar. Keep them away from each other. And do you want to know why? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why right now. That's because vinegar and bleach make a toxic gas when combined. So please, do not mix them together. And if you do mix them together, I am not responsible for your medical or funeral bills, okay? I told you right now, don't mix them together. Bad. Okay, so toxic gas, not great. Have you ever had someone fart so awfully that you thought that you would die? Well, this is kind of like that, only you will actually die, okay? Don't do it. Because if you do, I'm not going to pay for anything. That's your fault, not mine. I told you no. Anyway, moving on. White vinegar is still used today to treat wounds. And it's also used to soothe sunburns, bug bites and stings, and sore throats. It can help to reduce soreness and inflammation, and is still implemented to support the digestive tract as a weight loss aid and to help with upset stomachs and heartburn. Something that I was quite surprised to learn is that white vinegar is also used for skincare issues, like not like the common ones, like dry skin, eczema, calluses, and nail fungus. Which, again, I thought that was really interesting. So, of course, Apart from being used in cooking recipes, white vinegar is a popular condiment as well. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little frisky, I'll sprinkle some vinegar on my fries. But that's, when I'm feeling frisky, when I'm feeling dangerous. Ah. Anyway, don't knock it till you tried it. So yeah, I lost my place. I'm so sorry. Ah, there we go. I found it. White vinegar is, as mentioned before, used to pickle and preserve food, but it's also a great cleaner of produce, helping to remove any pesticides and to help freshen wilted vegetables. There are other uses for white vinegar as well, such as deterring animals like deer from eating your plants and garden vegetables. The scent of it is a major turnoff for them. So spray some of this close to, but not directly on your garden, your flower bed, or your potted plants to keep that at bay. It also helps to remove odors, improve candle wicks by making them last longer, which, can I just say, I've tried. I've tried putting a little dab of white vinegar on some of my candle wicks, and it does work very well. Just a little dab will do ya. Now, the scent doesn't really last long, especially after you've lit your candle, so don't worry about that. And it's also used to prevent windows from frosting over during cold weather, which, again, I didn't know, but I thought that was pretty cool. Vinegar in general has been used since ancient times for rituals of purification worldwide, as well as to ward off evil spirits and negative energies, and for protection. So we're getting into the more metaphysical aspects now. It was also hailed as a symbol of vitality and good health. In our modern age, vinegar in general is utilized for protection, cleansing, and healing. All types of vinegar are great for cleansing spaces and auras of negative energy. The sourness that comes with vinegar is believed to help spiritual practitioners to connect with the spiritual realm and the universe. It's often used for mindfulness and in energy work to promote a calm and peaceful environment. Now, white vinegar specifically is tied to transformation and renewal, especially in relation to personal development or growth. In this manner, it also symbolizes the life cycle in how something dying leads to space being available for something new to grow and flourish. Having been used as a preservative for a long time, white vinegar also correlates to stability, longevity, and preservation, usually via keeping important traditions, beliefs, values, rituals, ceremonies, and cultures alive that may have otherwise faded away or been destroyed or absorbed into another culture. Due to it being used historically and spiritually in the past to remove blockages and impurities, white vinegar is linked to enlightenment and spiritual awakenings. In regards to dreams and dream work, vinegar tends to represent hidden fears, the desire for stability, disappointment, and to reflect one's emotional state. Some dream interpreters also identify it as correlating with future difficulties and challenges. White vinegar, in particular, represents cleansing energy and purification in dreams. In romance, white vinegar helps to maintain the pure love that's there and to ensure that it remains good and healthy. When issues do arise, it helps to stimulate active cleaning and healing in the relationship. In toxic relationships of any kind, not just romantic, white vinegar is a great friend to help break away from that toxicity, cleansing it, and transforming it into something healthier and better for you. White vinegar can also be used in spells or rituals for destruction, because remember, it was used apparently with General Hannibal to break those boulders and to remove rust. Um, but for white vinegar, as far as destruction, um, particularly what I saw is that it's often implemented with destruction of a relationship, a bad habit, or an addiction. It can also be used as an ingredient in return to sender spells to create protective wards around the property and as a warning to those who want to fuck around and find out. Okay. Now, I do have a couple of, I guess, spells, potions that I picked up from Pinterest, which I do love going on Pinterest. I find a lot of very useful things there. And I'm going to give them to you right now. So this one is the first one I'm going to give you is on a way to remove negativity from a room. Okay, so you're going to want to get a clear glass. You're going to want to mix in this clear glass together 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of granulated salt, and 16 ounces of filtered water. You're going to mix it well for at least 1 minute and then leave it in a place where you spend most of your time. Leave it alone for 1 whole day, so 24 hours. The salt is going to rise in the glass, and when it finally stops, that means it's captured all of the negative energy in the place. And you can repeat this in as many rooms or places as you see fit. And the second thing that I got is a warding jar. So in a glass jar, you're going to mix together salt, red pepper, and black pepper, black salt, a sigil or paper with your intention, and white vinegar. Place it beside your bed or by a door to ward off any entity or working that intends to harm you. And you're going to shake the jar to recharge it. And that's all I have for you on white vinegar. Again, it was just something that popped out at me while I was rummaging around in my pantry, and I thought it would be pretty cool to talk about it. I'm not going to lie, I didn't have a whole lot of hope when I first started delving into this topic as far as implementing it in witchcraft, ritual, and spiritual practices and stuff like that, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm not disappointed at all. So I hope that you guys learned something and found that just as interesting and useful as I did. So, yeah. But that's all I have for you today. I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Make sure you drink plenty of water. Go outside if the weather allows you to. Just take a nice walk in nature and enjoy. And I hope that you all have a marvelously magical Monday. And I will see you wonderful people, you amazing, amazing witches, in the next episode. TTYN. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Okay, so we're going to try with the microphone attached to the shawl. And if that doesn't work, then we'll have to reposition it. Excuse me. Oh, beg pardon.